Hello everybody, this is the notes for section 8.5. We're going to be doing this section in two separate parts. The first part is dealing with the rational equations. So you got basically a fraction equal to a fraction, or a couple of fractions added or subtracted together to equal another fraction. Solving those things. The second part will be solving rational inequalities. So this first video is just the part one, rational equations. All right, there's a couple of ways you can do this, and what you do kind of depends on what you start with. So, if you have just a single fraction equal to a single fraction, as it says there, easiest thing to do is just cross multiply to solve it. Now, this first example on the left, pretty basic. Let's do the one on the right here. So, we got a single fraction equal to a single fraction. Let's just cross multiply. 2x plus 1 times the 3x plus 8 equals 2x minus 8 times 3x plus 4. All right, when we FOIL this stuff together, 6x squared, 16x, that's going to be plus 19x plus 8 equals 6x squared. We're going to have an 8x minus a 24x, so that puts us at a minus 16x minus 32. Okay, so now we got multiple powers of the, or different powers of the variable. We got x squareds and x terms. So let's move everything to one side. But you'll notice that when we do that, if we subtract the 6x squared from both sides, our x squared terms cancel each other out. So now we just have the single power of x. So let's just move all the x's to one side. I'm going to add 16x to both sides and subtract 8, moving all the constants to the other side. So that gives me a minus 40 on the right, and 19 and 16 is a 35x. And so we just solve for x, divide by 35. X will equal a negative, common factor of 5, so negative 8/7. There's the x value. Okay. And that's the gist of this, is just when you have a single fraction equals single fraction, cross multiply to solve. Now, there is some extra thing that you kind of have to think about for every one of these problems. And not kind of have to think about, you have to think about it. You're dealing with rational functions. They have restrictions. All right, your domain is not allowed, or sorry, your denominator is not allowed to equal 0. So they're called extraneous solutions. Really, it means they're not solutions. All right, you come up with a solution solving for it, but it's restricted from the domain. So in this problem, x could not equal a negative 4/3 from that denominator. X could not equal a negative 8/3 from the other denominator here. We have negative 8/7 for a solution. That's neither of those values. So our answer is good. If we came up and just in the process of solving and we got a negative 4/3 for an answer down here, we can't have negative 4/3. So it would not be an answer, and if that was the only one we came up with, the whole thing just wouldn't have any solutions. Okay, so now, still dealing with equations. The other type of problem is when you have multiple terms on one side of that equal sign, or maybe both sides. One method, there's a couple ways you can do this. The first method is combine those terms into a single fraction. So you're going to get common denominators. So now when you do that, it gives you a single fraction equal to a single fraction. You can cross multiply. As it says, a better way to do that is to eliminate all those fractions. And you're going to do that by multiplying by that least common denominator. And that's going to cancel out all the fractions, and then it makes it just a normal algebra problem to solve. So let's do this example here on the right. So to cancel out all of these fractions, this x squared minus 4, oops, I want that squared there. This x squared minus 4, you factor that's x plus 2, x minus 2. So if we multiply both sides of this equation, every single term, by that least common denominator, x minus 2, x plus 2, it will cancel out all these fractions. Okay, so now it just becomes a distributive property. this first term multiplied by the x minus 2 times x plus 2. The x plus 2's will cancel each other out, leaving you with x times x minus 2. Then we are subtracting. Okay, we take this middle term, the 8 over x squared minus 4. When we multiply it by this quantity here, the denominator just gets canceled out. So we just have a minus 8 equals. And now for the last term, the x minus 2's cancel out. We're left with a 2 times x plus 2. All right. So we've eliminated all the fractions. Now it just becomes a normal problem to solve. So do some distributive here. X squared minus 2x minus 8 equals 2x plus 4. We have different powers of the variable, so let's set this equal to 0. So we're going to get, bringing everything over to the left side of the equal sign. By subtracting 2x, it gives us a minus 4x. Subtract 4, that's a minus 12. And this should factor x minus 6, x plus 2. That works. That equals 0. So we get x equals 6. We get x equals a negative 2. Okay, we have to check for those extraneous solutions. If we look back at our original problem, because of this factor in the denominator, x cannot equal a negative 2. We just solved down here and we said, hey, x equals negative 2, but we can't have that. So this is not an answer. 6 is no problem. It's not part of our restrictions in our domain. That makes that the only answer. Okay. So that's how you handle these things. I think this is the better way. It's a little bit easier method. That's what you're going to want to do for this. So I'm not going to solve this last example here, but just talk about the setup of it because it's a little bit different. You know, we're just subtracting a number. We're still going to do the same stuff. Okay, we want to cancel out those fractions, which means just multiplying everything, not just the terms on one side of the equal sign, but everything. Okay, just like whenever you're solving anything, whatever you do on one side of the equal sign, you got to do the same thing on the other side. So every single term gets multiplied by x plus 3. So when we do that, this first term, 2x over x plus 3, multiplied by x plus 3, we just get 2x. Minus, now it's the 1 multiplied by x plus 3. Equals x over x plus 3, multiplied by x plus 3, you just get x. And so now this just becomes a very basic problem to solve. Okay? So that is it for this section. We're going to be doing just half of this assignment in class. There will be a video for the solving the inequalities, which get a little bit tougher, coming up next. So have a good night.